Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright, Justice for All. In the last episode, we may have concluded our investigation to the first part of the trial, which concluded very interestingly. Maya has been kidnapped and we're looking for evidence to prove that our client, Matt... Sorry, my eyes are gazing down. Our client, Matt Ungard, is in fact not the killer to the case that we are investigating in. It turns out that he or at least his manager, Adrian Andrews, is involved. As when we investigated Adrian, she's fiddling around with this weird card with a pink seashell. And for us as the players jumping to Maya to see what's going on her end, she found a card also with a pink seashell on it. Now this doesn't mean anything, but I think that there is in fact a connection. Anyways guys, that's it for this intro. We're gonna get right into it. Okay, so looking at this, we are going to start in a trial. So who knows what's going to happen to Maya next. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. Adrian did it? That's what it looks like. Dude, no way, that woman couldn't do anything like that. In court today, there will be a mountain of evidence that will implicate you. A mountain of evidence? I'm certain there is someone out there trying very hard to pin this whole thing on you. Please, Mr. Lawyer. Dude, like I said yesterday, I'm refreshing like the spring breeze, alright? I can't let any sort of scandal ruin that. I understand. Well, it's almost time. Mia! We must get a complete acquittal today. I know. But I can't focus on Maya's situation right now. Or Pearl's either. No matter what, I have to focus on winning this case by the end of the day. Indeed. Well, let's get going. It's him. This is Wright. Good morning. This is it, Mr. Attorney, the day of the trial. Maya, she's unharmed, right? Well, when I checked on her earlier this morning, she seemed a bit, how shall I say, tired. Don't worry, people don't die that easily. Besides, what you really should be concentrating on is winning today's trial. For my sake, as well as yours, you must win today's trial. Which is why I sent you a little present this morning. Present? What in the world would you want to give me? You'll figure it out once the trial starts, and even if you don't like my gift, I expect you to graciously accept it and win the day's contest, if you please. Wait, the kidnapper sent me a present? Mr. Lawyer Dude, who was that? No one. It has nothing to do with you, so forget you heard anything. Dude, did your nose just get longer? Franziska isn't in the prosecutor's seat today. Court is now in session for the trial of Matt Ungard. Are the prosecution and defense ready? The defense is ready, Your Honor. I say, Mr. Wright, what happened to Miss Von Karma? I don't know, Your Honor. Why are you getting mad at me? Your Honor? Please be quiet, bailiff. Court is in session. If you must tell me something, keep it brief. Now then, what is it? Prosecutor Von Karma has... This morning, Miss Von Karma was shot by an unknown gun... The killer shot Von Karma? Shot? Somehow, I think this is the present the man is talking about. His present. Miss Von Karma is one of the top prosecutors in the country at the moment. If she were to disappear, it would be to your advantage. This is totally insane. Miss Von Karma, is she alright? I don't have that answer. She's alive in a stable condition. That's good. You're... I thought he'd show up. Your Honor, due to the circumstances, Miss Franziska Von Karma cannot appear in court today. I, Miles Edgeworth, will be taking her place. The prosecution is ready, naturally. Miss Von Karma was shot in her right shoulder and is currently undergoing surgery. Luckily, I have looked this case over and am familiar with the details. The prosecution seeks to prove the guilt of Mr. Matt Ungard. The court acknowledges the prosecution. Right? I finally found the answer I was struggling for on my long journey this past year. By the time this case comes to an end, you too will know the answer. Now then, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. Please bring Detective Gumshoe to the witness stand. You'd think that Gumshoe would be in higher spirits. Witness, your name and occupation. My name is Dick Gumshoe, sir. I'm a detective down at the precinct. For now. For now? After this trial's over, I'm supposed to turn in my badge, sir. Detective Gumshoe. The prosecution has no need for a depressed witness. Lift your head up and face forward like a proud officer. Detective Dick Gumshoe. Yes, sir. Now, let's have your testimony. If we want to explore the various facets of this case, we must start with that. Get ready, Phoenix. This is going to be a very rough fight. It would have to be with Edgeworth as my opponent. The answer he was struggling for. Interesting. Show me this answer you finally found, Edgeworth. Bare facts of the case. This murder happened after the Hero of Heroes award ceremony, sir. The victim, Juan Carita, was found dead in his hotel room. After looking into the cause of death, we believe he was definitely murdered, sir. At first, we thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case. However, we later found out that the guitar case had nothing to do with the murder. It does. It's missing the guitar. Where's the guitar? After the award ceremony ended, the victim was alone in his room? Yes, sir. Both the victim and defendant went alone to their rooms, sir. That's also a lie. I see. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Okay, let's press. Oh, I'm only starting half. Would you please give us a brief timeline of what happened after the ceremony? The ceremony started at 6 p.m. It ended around 8 p.m. and then there was a short break. A special post-ceremony show was supposed to start in the lobby 30 minutes later. And that's when the victim's body was found, correct? Which is to say the murder occurred during that 30-minute period. Continue with your testimony. The victim, Juan Carita, was found dead in his hotel room. The person who discovered the victim's body was Adrian Andrews, correct? Yeah. Who is this Adrian Andrews you're talking about? She's the defendant, Matt Ungard's manager. She's a really pretty lady, sir. She is really pretty. I like her character design. Ah, so she's a pretty lady. I wonder if she will grace us with her presence. When the post-ceremony show was about to start, she went to get Mr. Ungard. After visiting his room, she went to visit the victim's room to get him for the show, sir. I see. And that's when she found the victim's body. After looking into the cause of death, we believe he was definitely murdered, sir. The cause of death. Wasn't that because Mr. Carita was stabbed in the chest? Only a careless amateur would believe something so brainless as that, pal. take a good, hard look at the crime scene photo. Now, a real pro's attention would be drawn here to this bandana. His bandana, sir. That's the thing wrapped tightly around his neck. Yes, I see. His banana-scented bandana. And what about the knife? It seems to have been stuck in the victim's chest on purpose after his death. Seems we have a crafty murderer on our hands here. Strangled with a scarf, then stabbed with a knife. So the autopsy was incorrect. We thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case. And why did you think that? Because it was empty, pal. The Jammin' Ninja doesn't go anywhere without his bright red guitar. We couldn't find it anywhere at the scene of the crime. Then how about this theory? A fan really wanted the guitar and did the crime to get it. We thought of that too, but the only fingerprints on the guitar case were the victims. Only the victims, huh? So much for my theory then. We later found out that the guitar case had nothing to do with the murder. What convinced you that it had nothing to do with the case? The guitar wasn't at the Gatewater Hotel that night. Well then, where was it? The bright red guitar was eventually found at the TV studio. The victim, Juan Carita, had apparently only taken the case with him, sir. So you mean he forgot to put the guitar inside the case? Yes, sir. Even when he was on stage for the ceremony, he didn't have his guitar. So the guitar case was empty even before he got to the hotel. Yeah, that's right. So it really had nothing to do with the case after all. Damn. I believe that's enough. First, the victim was choked to death with his bandana. Then, after the victim was killed, the killer deliberately stabbed him with a knife. Which brings me to my next point. Why then did the police arrest Mr. Ungard? Because there was reason enough to suspect him? Here it comes. Looks like Edgeworth's back in full swing. Very well. Detective Gumshoe, please testify about this matter. Yes, sir. Why arrest Ungard? Matt Ungard and Juan Carita were huge rivals with each other. They each thought the other guy was in his way. That's motive enough in my book. As for evidence, there's the Jammin' Ninja button. It was ripped off the ninja costume and was found in Mr. Ungard's hakama. The defendant's fingerprints were also all over the knife. The defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes this a premeditated murder. So the defendant's fingerprints were found on the knife used in the stabbing. It was sort of sticky on the handle, so the fingerprints came out pretty clearly, sir. In the grip, Gatewater is engraved, so he didn't buy the knife. And there's this button that was found in the defendant's clothes, was it? And this button's also covered in blood. We know that the blood on it is the victim's blood, sir. What? Covered in Carita's blood, found in Ungard's hakama. All of this points very clearly to the defendant, doesn't it? Yes, it most certainly does, Your Honor. Ready to give in yet, Wright? I'll find a hole in your argument somewhere. You can press as hard as you'd like. Just hurry up with the usual pointless questions. Okay, so he said the knife was bought, but that's not true because it's engraved.
Hold it!
But in terms of popularity, Mr. Ungard won, did he not? Yeah. But you know what's ironic, pal? Juan Corrida was always one step behind Mr. Ungard in everything. This year, it seems like he's finally caught up, ready for the big final showdown. But Mr. Corrida lost the Grand Prix in the end. That's too bad. He must have been pretty downhearted after losing. Each thought the other guy what... Sounds like this was supposed to be staged as a suicide. Just 1 second here. Mr. Ungard was beating Mr. Corrida in the popularity polls. Well, yeah, I guess, but... Which means that in the defendant's eyes, the victim was not a rival at all. Which means he had no motive to kill at all. Oh. Sorry, that move made my headphones crooked. Yes, I quite agree. Well, detective? It's not, well, I guess if you put it that way, then yeah, the defendant would have had no motive. Detective, I'm beginning to see why you were fired. No, not you too, Mr. Edgeworth, sir. I look forward to your pension negotiations. No. Now, detective, let's continue with the testimony. No, not my poor pension, too. Detective, if you value your money, I suggest you proceed. Yes, sir. We can talk about my pension later, sir. What was I about? What? About what I was saying? Anyone? Hello? As for evidence, there's the German Ninja button. Do you have any proof that the button belonged to the victim? What do you mean, pal? Oh, let me put it this way. I'm asking if you have any evidence to back up your claim, that is. This button was ripped off the German Ninja's costume? But can't you tell just by looking at it? And the victim's blood is on it. Anyone can smear that blood on there afterwards. Mr. Edgeworth, help me, sir. I knew it had to be this piece of evidence. Now to reel this one in. Thread. Huh? The button was attached to the costume by thread, obviously. And that thread snapped when the button was torn off. If you match the ends of the thread on the costume with the thread on the button, it's a perfect match. That's it. That's a perfect match, pal. That's Edgeworth for you. Never misses a beat. Something tells me Franziska wouldn't have that kind of evidence either. Edgeworth was definitely superior out of the two. When was this button found? Pretty soon after the body was found, we rounded up everyone who knew Mr. Corrida. And then we did a search on them all. That's when we found the button. So it was almost immediately after the murder. The police didn't have the free time to lollygag and play tricks, unlike some people. What's he trying to say about me here? We're also all over the knife. How were the fingerprints arranged on the knife? Huh? How do you mean, pal? By examining the fingerprints, we can determine how the defendant held the knife. For example, did he hold it normally or overhand? Oh, that's what you mean. Well, we didn't actually think of that. I can't believe the bumbling of this department. Hopeless. Were you paying attention to the testimony, Wright? The defendant's fingerprints were all over the knife. There's no way to determine how the knife was held at the moment of the murder. So is the defendant the owner of this knife then? The defendant bought the knife. I'm gonna present the knife right away. Because it's not bought. Wait a second. Well, what? So the basis of your argument is that it was premeditated murder, is simply that my client bought a knife beforehand. That's right, pal. The defendant did not buy this knife. Huh? Take a good look at the handle of this knife. You'll see what I'm talking about. Huh. It has a Gatewater seal set into the handle. Gatewater. I think I've heard that name somewhere before. That's the name of the hotel. The Gatewater Hotel. Oh. The murder knife was actually property of the hotel, which means this murder was not premeditated. That is very true. That is a very big... What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sorry, but the defense is simply too careless. What? I think whether the crime was premeditated or not has already been determined. How so? I admit this knife is hotel property. There is no one currently on the police force that is dumb enough not to realize this. But I didn't... Oh. The question is, where did this knife come from? Why, that's obvious. It came from the victim, Mr. Kurita's room. Sorry, Your Honor, but that is incorrect. The victim ate a last meal before he was murdered, and the knife was still on the desk. I would like to draw the court's attention to what's on the top of the table. There's a knife and a fork on the table. And then in the other room, there's only going to be one knife. If it pleases the court, I would like for us to recall the room of the defendant, Mr. Matt Ungard. I did not even pay attention to that, especially what was on top of his table. Oh no, it really was Adrienne Andrews? Oh, I feel so bad. She's such a nice looking character. We investigated the leftover dishes for fingerprints, and while we were investigating, we came to the conclusion that Mr. Matt Ungard's knife was missing. Mr. Ungard had gone to the victim's room with the knife he had used during dinner. Why would he carry a knife on a visit? To kill, of course. And with that, I believe the prosecution has proven this was a premeditated murder. Amazing, Mr. Edgeworth. Absolutely brilliant. A brilliantly clear deduction. Seems like Edgeworth had this plan from the very beginning. This must be one of those traps, and I just walked headlong into it. A murder weapon with fingerprints and a button from the victim's costume. There's quite a sizable amount of evidence here. I can safely say that any further deliberation is a waste of your time, Your Honor. Although, I wouldn't mind if the defense were to present evidence not yet shown to the court. Evidence not yet shown? He means evidence that the court hasn't seen yet. In other words, new evidence. What does the defense have to say about this, Mr. Wright? Well, Phoenix. The judge is favoring the prosecution right now. If we answer with something wrong here, that gavel of his will be ringing out the sound of our defeat. Do you have something important and necessary? Yes. There's one. One piece of evidence that catches my attention. Something that this court has yet to see. Mr. Wright, I will say this one more time. I do not feel this trial needs to continue at all. However, I'm giving you one chance and only one. What the judge is saying, Wright, is don't try pulling one of your usual bluffs here. Oh my gosh. We found it odd that there was tomato juice that no one drank. This is a wine glass, is it not? Please look at the photo of the crime scene one more time. This scene is the mess This scene is a mess because of the victim's struggle against his assailant. The vase was broken, his makeup is all over the floor. These are all things that were to one point sitting on top of the dresser. Well, yes, I see your point. However, this glass that is sitting on top of the dresser is mysteriously untouched. The only thing that had not fallen over, along with everything else, is this wine glass. This piece of evidence is more than strange enough to warrant further consideration. Well, what do you all have to say? Well, yes, it is a little peculiar. Yes, isn't it? I thought it was. You can stop looking at me with those puppy dog eyes of yours now. Mr. Edgeworth, what is it, Your Honor? Your opinion. You don't need my opinion, because there's no special meaning to that glass. What? It's safe to say that the glass was set there after the crime took place, by the person who discovered the body, Adrian Andrews, for example. She could have easily have been so shocked that she set the glass down without thinking. That does sound very plausible, right? Really have set the glass down without thinking? There's no way. If I appear weak here, the trial is over. I could look for my proof later. For now, I should try to trust my instincts and point with certainty. They just might fall for it, if you're thought-provoking enough. The defense would like to challenge the prosecution's theory. We would like to see something that proves it was Miss Andrews who set the cup on the table. You've turned the situation on its head yet again, as usual. Mr. Edgeworth, do you have any proof to back up your claim? There's no way he has anything. He's just bluffing. Unlike Mr. Wright, I never say anything unless I have evidence to support it. What? You're not thinking hard enough today, Wright. Did you think this wine glass escaped my notice? Then, of course it has been thoroughly inspected for fingerprints. Fingerprints. There were only one set of fingerprints left on this wine glass. Whose were they? They were not the victims nor the defendants. Rather, they were one Adrian Andrews. What? That is why I said... I'm so sorry about that yawn. That's why I said that the person who had discovered the body had left it there. Are we done here, Mr. Wright? Can't believe I fell into another trap. Miss Andrews was probably holding the glass when she went to see Mr. Carita. But upon seeing his dead body, she was stunned and set the glass down on the dresser. What you said makes a lot of sense. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Do you see, Mr. Wright? You can't change my part, any part of my scenario, as it explains everything all too well. Ms. Von Karma's case, we were able to change the scenario each time she presented data. I've thought long and hard about this past year, about what it means to be a prosecutor, and from here on out, I will show you the answer I have come to discover. Wait a second, Mr. Edgeworth. I think the prosecution has proved enough evidence for to enter my verdict. Unfortunately, I cannot allow you to pass judgment yet. The prosecution has yet another witness we would like to hear from the court today. Another witness. Yes. Bailiff, please bring in the next witness. What in the world is Edgeworth thinking? Oh my God. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. Witness, your name and occupation, please. Rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Gotcha. I wonder what happened to the calm composure he had earlier. Oh, Edgy boy, it's been, what, a year since we last met, hasn't it? You should be more than happy to see me. I saw the report with her testimony, but who knew that under that helmet, it was the Wicked Witch of the witness stand. I tell you, this time I know what I'm supposed to do, so today I'm going to tell you anything and everything. Even things that don't have to do with the terrible crime. Miss Witness, that terrible crime is all this court needs to know. Rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Oof! Shush. I'm talking to my dear Edgy Wedgie right now. Don't interrupt us, Gramps. Yes, madam. No, please, by all means interrupt her. Please. Anyways, witness, your testimony, please. It's true what they say, that youth are hotheads nowadays. Not that I mind at all, Edgy. Now then, what should I start with? The witness was on security detail at the hotel on the night of the murder. Is this correct, Miss Oldbag? It was a great job being able to see my dearie Juan. It was almost too much for my little heart to handle. You mean you were a fan of the victim? Look, everyone is crazy over that on guard, saying he's cute in a fresh way or something. But not me. I wouldn't say anything so silly. After all, I've no interest in a little child like him. I'm only interested in a real man. Oh, she thinks Juan is older. But those two were the same age. Anyways, as I was saying, I was pacing in front of his room that night. Very well. Please tell the court what you witnessed. Leave it to me, Edgy Poo. What you witnessed. Anyways, after the ceremony, I went to pace around in the hallway in front of his room. There was something I was interested in finding out, you know. Well, since I was on the job, I made sure to keep a good eye out the whole time. That's when someone showed up. It was a man coming out of poor Juan's room. It was Ungard, Matt Ungard. He was trying to sneak his way out of Juan's room. So, Mr. Ungard came out of the victim's room. See, it had to be him. He's the murderer. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. After the ceremony, I went to pace around the... But wouldn't she see Lotta? What was your position that night? The lobby. I was supposed to help set up the stage for that trifling show. But I refused to help. I'll have you know, it was for that lead-headed samurai show. I even took out a few of the nails. Maybe it was a good thing the show didn't go on. Besides, the manager with the glasses seemed to be working hard at it without me. So I thought I'd take a break and spread my wings a little. And that's when you went to hang around the victim's door. There was something I was interested in finding out, you know. Something you were interested in. And just what was that? It's not something I can just go around telling everyone, you know. It's top secret between me and Juan. And Edgy Poo, of course. Mr. Edgeworth, what is this thing she was interested in? I have no idea. I despise gossip, Your Honor. But should it prove relevant, you can always have it appended in her testimony. And did the witness stay in the vicinity of the victim's door the entire time? Oh, then would you tell us the number of people who went in and out of Mr. Corrido's room? I have no idea. I wasn't born so I could count things for those who didn't pay attention in class. That's why ever since I turned 20, I quit keeping track of how old I really am. Yes, well, that would explain why your age was not included in the report. In any case, the witness then saw someone, correct? That's when someone showed up. It was a man coming out of poor Juan's room. Who in the world was it? I'm not allowed to say. This sort of information has to be carefully guarded from the masses, Sonny. The man that came out of Juan's room, he was, yes, he was. I'm too scared. I can't say his name out loud. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have Franziska's whip right now. Well, I guess I can tell you, since he was such a bad boy anyways. It was Ungard, Matt Ungard. He was trying to sneak his way out. You saw my client. Are you sure about that? Yes, see? Really? Annoying brat, when I say I saw someone, I saw that person. Why do I get the sense of deja vu? Maybe to avoid a repeat of last year? I should delve into this a bit further. Please tell the court more about the clothing in detail. But it does. Yes, it was that thing. That gaudy thing he's always wearing. That racing jacket. He was wearing that at the detention center too. Thing's meant for nothing but seducing women out of their pantaloons. Men. Right, so Mr. Wright. Was this testimony just now important or relevant at all? It was very important. Of course it was important, Your Honor. Then perhaps you would like to point out what part of that testimony was important. Don't you see it, Edgeworth? Your Honor, I request that the witness said about the jacket be appended in her testimony. Well, I don't like to badmouth anyone without reason, but if I must. Okay. What's that tabloid? This one. No. Okay. Oh. I see. I get it. I looked over just for a second. If he was wearing his jacket, how could this be caught in the hakama? Miss Oldbag. What? Don't say my name for no reason. Do you know what this is? It's button number 2 on the Jammin' Ninja costume. Now I know she's obsessed fan. She identified it in a single glance. Give it here, give it here. If you don't give it to me, I'll punish you with this. Wow, she's really a die-hard fan to want a button covered in blood. This button was discovered on Mr. Ungard's body during a full body search. See? This button proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was that rascal Ungard. It was caught up in the pleats of his nickel samurai hakama pant. See? And Ungard is the nickel samurai. Witness. Now, it may just be me, and I do have an active imagination. But just now, didn't you say that the defendant, Matt Ungard, was wearing his usual racing jacket? I'm so sorry. Sorry that you judge people based on what they wear. If I wore the trendy, but instead I had to put... Oh my gosh, she did... Wendy, if the button was found on the costume, it wouldn't have been caught if he wasn't wearing the costume. Now hold your tongue still there for 1 second. So what you saw in actuality was not Mr. Ungard, the man, but Mr. Ungard, the nickel samurai. But when you think about it, they're really one of the same anyways. Miss Oldbag, this is a very important point. This is a very important point we're talking about. Edgy Poo, do you think so too? Well, it might be something worth considering. Just say it's important and agree with me for a change. Witness, think carefully and try to remember as much as you can before you testify. All right, if you insist. I should be the one sighing, not you. Who I saw. Ungard, yes, now I remember, the nickel samurai. That's right, it was the nickel samurai that I saw. Yes, it would have been convenient for him to wear his costume during the murder. He had to go to that post-ceremony stage show right after the crime, you know. So he must have worn that nickel samurai costume when he was stabbing poor Juan. I knew it. I knew you'd say it was inside that costume. What? Did you think there could have been someone else inside the costume? Don't be a bad little boy thinking such rude things. But the possibility does exist. Ah, youngins today, I told you, there's no way it was anyone else. How do you know that? Because I said so, and what I say is the truth. At least she's as delightful a witness as she was a year ago. She's an awful woman. Miss Oldbags. Would you please get on with your testimony? Watch your language, young man. What sort of tone is that to take with an elder? My youthfulness isn't what it used to be, so you should forgive me for everything. If you keep on barking at me like that, I'll start singing at the top of my lungs. What? A striking figure by the sea, standing all alone is he. He's the nickel samurai. She's actually singing. Someone help my poor ears. Mr. Edgeworth, can you please do something about this racket? Witness, I'll give you a piece of gum later if you'll be good and stick to the facts. Okay. You promise, right? Right. I'll be sending the bill for the chewing gum to your office at a later date. Remind me to send you a thank you note later too, old chum. Be a little more careful with your testimony, please. Not too long ago, you said he was wearing his racing jacket, and now he's not? Not too long ago? Then let me ask you this. When you were itty-bitty, what was your great dream? What did you want to be when you grow up, whippersnapper? See? And look where you are now. You're not Judge Wagner, are you? Are you? Well, what I said earlier. Who puts any weight into things like that? And now is everything. I can't be held responsible for the past. Since when did the court become theatrics over testimony? All that matters is that man was inside the costume. Isn't that enough? Her rambling prior must have been something that was very important, but because she rambles, I ignored it all. And why would that be? That way no one could see his face, of course. But there's no advantage for him that I can see. In fact, you would think the costume would make him stand out all the more. You are such an annoying child, you know that? You disagree with everything I say. Isn't that what you're always doing to me? I got it. Maybe it was more troublesome for him to change in and out of his costume. Was there anyone else scheduled to appear in the post-ceremony show? Well, all the contestants were supposed to go on stage in a friendly gesture thing. And that included the Jammin' Ninja. Of course it included him. That's why when Ungard came out of Dear Juan's room, I didn't give it a second thought. I see. Well, anyway. So he must have worn the nickel costume when he went to stab poor Juan. So let me ask you one last time. The person you saw, it really was the Nickel Samurai. As showy as ever. Haven't I been saying that from the very beginning? Can I throw in the towel yet? Okay, so I've gone over everything. What am I missing? Present knife. Because he didn't die by the knife. Please take a look at this. Yeah, so it's a knife, big deal. If you're trying to scam me with that, I'll have you know it won't work. No, that's not my intention at all. That's the knife that was used in the murder, correct? Your Honor, do you know why this piece of evidence is important to this case? You don't even have to ask, it's because the defendant's fingerprints are on it. Is that what you're driving at? That's exactly what I'm driving at. What are you driving at? Whose car are we driving? If Mr. Ongard is really in the Nickel Samurai costume at the time of the murder, then it's impossible for his because of his outfit. Actually, he would have wiped all previous fingerprints on this knife right off. That's right, the Nickel Samurai wears gloves, doesn't he? He probably took his gloves off before he began the stabbing. And why would he do something like that, to leave prints on the murder weapon? There's no way he would do something like that. However, there is one possibility, then let's hear your possibility. It's very simple. The defendant went to the victim's room while in costume as the Nickel Samurai. At that time, the defendant held no intent to murder. He was probably just going to relax and talk with the victim about the stage show, which is why he took his gloves off. But then why bring the weapon? But the murder still took place. It's well known that there was bad blood between the defendant and the victim. Yes, I have heard that before. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say about Mr. Edgeworth's theory? It goes like this. When the defendant went to the victim's room, he had no intention of killing him. Now, there is a contradiction. This theory contradicts something in an earlier testimony. What are you babbling about? Let's suppose Mr. Ungard was the killer. And if that's the case, I think it's impossible for the killer to have gone without intent. That's because of the knife again. This knife, this was used by Mr. Ungard at dinner. Yes, we did establish that, which means that if my client was in fact the killer, then he brought the knife with him when he went to visit Mr. Kurita, I suppose. However, you just said it yourself. At that time, the defendant held no intent to murder. If that were true, then why would he bring a knife? He wouldn't, would he? Which means, Mr. Edgeworth, your theory was flawed from supposition 1. And one more thing. If the murderer was wearing the costume at the time of the murder, then there should be glove marks left on the knife. Which means the defendant's fingerprints shouldn't have been all over it like bees on a hive. That brings me to my final point. The knife was planted by the real killer to hide their identity and mislead us. Order. Order, I say. Order in the court. Was this knife really planted by the killer? Why would the murderer do such a thing? To frame. It's to frame my client, Mr. Ungard, of course. To frame. Aren't you forcing the interpretation a little too hard on this one? But we just established that the witness saw the nickel samurai in costume. And if that were true, then there shouldn't be a single fingerprint on this knife. Witness. Looks like I've made your life a teeny bit more difficult, huh? Edgy poo. Witness, did you or did you not really see the nickel samurai? Well, I guess at first I might have forgotten, but are you saying you mixed Ungard with the nickel samurai, his character on TV? But I mean, I can't really do anything about that now. Look, I was waiting around in front of their doors because, well, I wasn't waiting around for the nickel samurai, that's for sure. She wasn't waiting for the nickel samurai. Alright then. Who were you waiting for then? That's top secret to anyone outside of security. Ha ha ha. The way you think, you're a sad amateur with the terrible case for nearsightedness. Amateur? Me? What am I an amateur of? Was waiting around in front of the victim's room, but it doesn't sound like she was waiting to catch a glimpse of Mr. Kurita. For that person. She was waiting. You were waiting for this person. Her. Who is this person? This is Adrian Andrews, Mr. Ungard's manager. But why would the defendant's manager be in the victim's room? It seems that this is the latest rumor in circulation, Your Honor. Oh, this is... Well, this is... I see. The judge seems to be really into the article, if it can be called such a thing. Then this manager with the initials AA, are you saying it's Adrian Andrews? Without a doubt. The witness thought so as well. Looks like you found me out. Well, fine. I can throw away this whole sworn to confidentiality stuff. Witness, what in the world are you? Watch out, Phoenix. I've got a bad feeling about this. A very bad feeling. I've got some information, some very secret information, from a certain source. So that's why I was doing my own little investigation. In secret, of course. But what for? Oh, just for myself, personal reasons and all that. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, how will you proceed from here? I really don't want to do this. However, I simply can't let this point slide. Very well then, witness. Please testify about this secret information. Get ready. This is going to take the wind out of your young'uns. I'm sure we all really appreciate a handle on this. Really, it's not like we're 10 years old. Secret information. Mr. Ungard is one evil man. He thought he could ruin poor Juan by causing a huge scandal. So to do that, he sent his own manager to getting close with Juan. I cannot condone such dirty tricks, so I took action. And this is top secret, you got that? Nobody else but me can know that. But you and me know this, okay? The defendant sent his manager. What a distasteful topic for this court. What? Nobody's above gossip. And isn't there a saying that truth is never pleasant? Never heard that one before. What about this Adrian Andrews person? We have looked into this matter and found that the truth of the article poses I'm super sorry about yet another powerful yawn. Is in fact baseless gossip. But shouldn't this be true? Then this proves that the defendant did bear ill will towards the victim. So that means I have to smash this rumor once and for all. You may cross-examine the witness. Be careful. The old bag seems rather excited right now. That's right. Ungard is nothing but your average foul-blooded youth. Time to fire up the afterburners and hit the highway to the danger zone. That Ungard is one evil, evil man. Two... cannot condone. Wait. What? I'm a busy woman. Tea time with the kids is over. Secret information that no one knows yet. If that's true, then how do you know the secret information? Well, that's because I'm a pro. Yes, that's it. I think I found where Lotta's camera went. It's a secret. Even if you drill a hole into my brain, you'll never find out. So no one is supposed to know this secret information, correct? If that's true, then why do you know it, Miss Oldbag? Why are you looking at me like that? Stop that. Witness. I'd hate to say it, but this is how you came to acquire your secret information, isn't it? The investigation photographer, Lotta Hart. Oh yes, I remember that mischievous girl. She reported that she had lost a certain note she had written to herself. She reported such a thing? On that piece of paper, she had written down some of her impressions about the relationship between the victim and Miss Andrews. What? Outrageous ideas, you say? I said impressions. Then everything written on this piece of paper is completely meaningless? That's it. That's the note. No, you see, this is something completely different. This is my top secret list of the groceries I'm to buy. Then you're the one who took Miss Hart's note. I'm a huge fan of Juan, that's why. That infamous, puffy-haired whippersnapper. She's working with the evil Ungard. She said so herself. Ungard, I'm his sidekick. She was so happy, smiling like a silly duck. I was only checking what she had written. Edgy Poo, you believe me, don't you? I was only trying to help out that little like the little angel I am. It's only one little piece of paper. I've never taken anything else before. You really should come up with a supply of cheese to match with your vintage wine. Well, it was only a piece of paper. I suppose we can overlook this just once. She looks like she's really sorry. I should forgive her. But pile on the pressure. If I let up now, she'll get away. I have to find some way to inflict a deafening blow to the prosecution. Witness, you said that the only thing you stole was that note. Is this correct? Oh yeah, she stole the whole camera. Why don't you listen more carefully, you annoying brat? I saved this piece of paper from the terrible, lonely trash can, that's all. You're lying, and I can prove it. Are you putting my credibility under scrutiny again? Miss Oldbag, I don't believe that the note was the only thing you stole that night. Miss Oldbag, that note was with a camera inside its case, wasn't it? A camera? Yesterday, Lotta Hart was raising a huge stink over her camera. She kept saying something like, my sweetie $1,600 camera disappeared on me. What? Witness! What is it, Gramps? If you have the note, then it is only logical you have the camera, too. Looks like you found me out again, Sonny. Is this the camera you're looking for? That's What? Even though I look like this, I'm still a person, you know. I still eat meals like you. I fall in love. I borrow things from people. You think your definition of borrow is a little off. Please throw her in jail for theft. I saw that woman's business card, and that's when I noticed it said Slimeball Celebrity Photographer Extraordinaire. Well, when I saw that, I had to know what sort of pictures she had taken. I'm a personal security guard. It's my business to know these things. No. Bailiff, check this camera's photos. Hurry. We must examine them at once. Yes, what did Lotta take pictures of? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what do we have? There's only one photo that seems to be relevant to this case. Please present it to the court. This is it. This is the Nickel Samurai. See, I told you. That's the guy I saw. This proves that the witness was not lying about this matter. What does this mean, Mr. Edgeworth? This photo by itself does not prove that the person in it is the defendant, however. In his own confession, Mr. Ungard clearly stated that, at the time of the murder, he was still in his Nickel Samurai costume. If that's the case, then this Nickel Samurai is the defendant. How did it come to this? I think this brings us to the end. We have examined every piece of evidence thoroughly. Final comments, Mr. Wright? The court will consider them before we close. Do you agree that this photo is decisive evidence against your client? But if I raise an objection here and blow it, I can't make a mistake here. There's something strange with it. I knew this was coming, Wright. Your thoughts, Mr. Edgeworth? I think we can all agree there is nothing strange with this photo. There is no way for the defense to debunk this photo even with a bunker buster. Debunk with a bunker buster? Is that what you're planning to do, Mr. Wright? Please look at the photo one more time. I have to find it. Let's see. Now then, let's hear your objection. I would like to direct the court's attention to this one area here. What are you pointing to? His ankles? If you could see this person's ankles, that would be one thing. However, you can't. And what does that mean? The costumed person in this photo could not have been Mr. Ungard. What's the meaning of this? I wonder if you would care to elaborate, with actual facts, that is. Let's take a look at the Nickel Samurai's poster. Oh. Please pay particular attention to the area around the bottom of the hakama. His socks. You can see his socks. Exactly. However, in this photo, the Nickel Samurai is clearly holding his hakama just to walk. There's only one explanation for this. The person inside this costume is clearly much shorter than the defendant. Alright, I think I've turned things around for myself this time. That's curious. What is? Edgeworth is unusually calm today. That's true. He's just letting the trial run itself, as if he's only along for the ride. What do you mean by that? I can only guess that perhaps he doesn't feel under attack at all. He doesn't feel under attack? Then I haven't damaged his case at all. Mr. Edgeworth, where does that leave us? If the person in this photo is not Matt Ungard, then everything the prosecution has tried to prove has become meaningless. I figured it would come to this. What? Right, I have something I want to ask you. I think you have proven that this person inside the costume is not Matt Ungard. In that case, who is this a photo of? Don't stress out over this, Phoenix. It's very simple. What you should be focused on is Edgeworth's attitude, don't you think? Why is he so calm? Let's hear your thoughts. My brain is saying Adrian Andrews. So, we're gonna go there. Adrian Andrews. If you want to know who that nickel samurai is, it's none other than this woman. And why would you say it must be Miss Andrews? What in the world points you to her? For starters, she's short, and she can freely move in and out of Mr. Ungard's room. Finally, she had dinner with Mr. Ungard that night, and how does that all add up? It means that it makes it very easy for her to get a certain item, a certain knife with Mr. Ungard's fingerprints all over it. The knife that was used as a murder weapon. Why don't you just say what it is you want, Mr. Wright? I have to do this now. The defense moves to indict Miss Adrian Andrews in the murder of Juan Corrida. It was Miss Andrews who tried to frame the defendant for the crime. Order, order, order. It looks like this trial has hit an unexpected development. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. This court is issuing a subpoena for Miss Adrian Andrews. A verdict cannot be passed without first hearing her testimony. All right, this is it. This is kind of bad for us. What do you mean? If Adrian Andrews is summoned to court as a witness, it means that the trial will go on for another day. One more day. If I don't get a verdict today, then Maya... Now then, we shall set Miss Andrews' testimony for tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? The judge is about to adjourn the court. Now then. Please, Your Honor, continue the trial. You must pass a verdict today. I can't do that. We cannot hear Miss Andrews. I abhor wasting such valuable time. Edgeworth. Your Honor, I request that you please continue with today's trial. But we cannot continue due to this unexpected development. Tisk, tisk. Unexpected development? I think you underestimate me, Your Honor. What do you mean by that? That Mr. Phoenix Wright would slave his way to subpoenaing Miss Adrian Andrews is all happening according to plan, even if Wright was a bit slow to catch on. What? What is the meaning of your statement, Mr. Edgeworth? Miss Adrian Andrews is currently waiting in the prosecution's lobby. She is the next witness. Everything was planned out in advance by that man? Somehow I knew there was no way Edge would overlook Miss Andrews. Looks like this battle is far from over. Exactly. Very well. We will call the next witness. However, before we proceed, we shall take a 10-minute recess. Please prepare the witness in that time, Mr. Edgeworth. The court will now take a 10-minute recess. Oh my gosh. There's so much. Wendy Oldbag's really takes it out of me. Whew. With that, guys, we are going to call it an episode. Thank you so much for joining me on the first part of today's trial. I don't know how we're going to end up getting a verdict today, because our goal is to get a verdict of not guilty. That I have no idea where this is going. But it seems like we definitely need to figure out how or point the finger at Adrian Andrew. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Mash the like button and subscribe if you have not for more Phoenix Wright content. We'll see you guys next time where we continue this trial. My brain shut off there.